everybody, and welcome back to the Dream Team Tonic podcast, episode 87. The weeks are flying by. I'm Tony, and with me, as usual, is Ben. Are you there, mate?
I'm here, mate. You okay?
I'm good, mate, and very happy to have on this week a returning guest, Matt Woolley. Are you there, mate?
I am. Evening, both.
Evening, mate.
Great to have you back.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit more sober than the last time I spoke to you, mate. Yeah, it's always good to have you on, Matt. Right, we're seeing as you're the guest, we'll let you have first dibs and jump into your team first, mate. How's it gone this week?
I think, like everyone, a bit of a mediocre week, to be honest. If I didn't say mediocre, probably poor. But a couple of players who've been keeping me ticking over the last few weeks, which are a couple of Newcastle lads. But if I go through from goalkeeper first, Alisson got me 3 points. Not much to say there.
Yeah.
Bit more to say about Cancelo, who was -2. Another fantastic week for Mr. Cancelo.
Shocking.
I think we all wish he was suspended from the Premier League match as well as the League Cup match, to be fair. And Saliba, 5 points. So he's been ticking over well. Have kept him in over the last few weeks, despite a few tricky fixtures. And, Arsenal and Newcastle, with Trippier, who got me 7, have probably been helping this team along. Saka, 0. Højbjerg, who I got in when I think he was one of the really high-scoring players for his price bracket and has done very little since, 0. Almiron, 5 points. I mean, what a player he's been.
Yeah.
Mitoma, who's looked absolutely stunning. Then I bring him in and doesn't play due to illness. Salah, 0. Kane, actually doing all right with 8. And Erling Haaland. We all got the news, obviously, before the match, and then the team news that he was playing. Another -1.
Yeah. Been a disappointing week, hasn't it? Some City lads.
Just a bit. So that was 25 points for the week, all in all.
Right. Well, I like the way you said Højbjerg as well. Pronounce that beautifully then. So much better than me. Højbjerg. So much better than my northern twang there.
I hope it's right.
Very well pronounced that. Right, on to my side. Not much better. Well, nowhere near as good as many. 23 points for the week. De Gea got me 3 points against Fulham, conceding. Akanji got 1 point. He got an assist. I did something a little bit strange. I had Ake, who did not play, and Sessegnon, who wasn't going to play either because both not in the squad. So I had the choice of bringing out Mount and putting in a more expensive. I think I'm going to go to Kulusevski, and then move one of Ake or Sessegnon on. But I thought if I leave Mount in and I go for 2 cheap Spurs lads who go absolutely mental, just something completely different, and pray they got a clean sheet against Leeds. It lasted about 7 minutes, 8 minutes. It didn't quite work out. Luckily, Davis went on and scored a goal. So I brought in Royale and Davis for a -2 and 6 points, so 4 points overall for them two. Didn't quite work out. Saka got 0. De Bruyne 3 points. Mount, who were left in, nothing. Chelsea poor again. Almiron 5 points. Salah with a blank against Southampton. We're expecting so much more from him. Kane, another goal, just keeps plodding along. Kane 8 points. And Haaland, -1. Disappointing week, 23 points. 8-4-1 overall for this podcast team. He's doing all right, but just seem to be stumbling the last few weeks. Cannot get some points from anywhere. If you've not had the Newcastle lads or suppose the Arsenal block, and then obviously Odegaard went and did a bit again, there's not been much happening.
Odegaard pinched that first goal, didn't he, off Saka's foot?
I didn't see it, mate.
Some I can't remember who put it in, but it was your mate Vieira put it in, and it was just across the line, and the two of them were fighting to get there to get the ball, and Odegaard got there first.
Yeah, that's how it goes, isn't it?
That happened the other week with Saka as well, didn't it? Someone else stole his goal the other week.
That was that cross,
corner.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was going in.
Gabriel kicked it in, didn't it, before it went over the line?
Mm.
Yeah, that's the way it's going for me in a minute. But, well, Ben, has your look got any better?
I have 33 points. A little bit better, but it could have been a lot more better if they could have kept a clean sheet with my Man United defensive block I've got now. Yeah. You'll come out with a 7 rating, so I've got 9 points from them. I've got De Gea in goal. Well, he was on star man with not long to go, and he lost it to Ericsson when because he got the assist for the second goal.
Yeah.
Also got a goal. Luke Shaw 3 points and Lindelof 3 points. Cancelo -2. Jared Bowen 0 points. De Bruyne 3 points. Foden scored a good goal. Almiron 5 points for an assist. And then up front, Haaland -1. Martinelli 3 points. Firmino got a goal. So it's not great really. Some dodgy diving in that Man City game. Did you watch that?
Go on.
Yeah.
Awful. They're all just jump when they went 1-0 down. They were just jumping about trying to get free kicks, penalties. There was about 5 penalty shouts in the space of 5 minutes.
And they VAR'd them all, didn't they? All of them went to VAR. It was.
I was adamant that De Bruyne one was a penalty.
Do you reckon?
When he spun,
it was it Henry?
Rico Henry.
Yeah.
It's how Rico Henry didn't know where he was, and he spins back, he catches his eyes. He's not looking at the ball, Rico Henry. He's just obviously the ball's gone past him. He looks, he sees De Bruyne, and he shoves his left leg in front of him. All right. Don't get me wrong. De Bruyne his fall is theatrical, but he has stopped him going past. He stopped him. It's soft, but it's a penalty.
It's soft, and I think there's that one and the one that was handball that looked like it was on the line, which is in the box.
Yeah.
And I think if the referee had given it, VAR wouldn't have overruled both of those two.
Very, very small margins, that was. Like you say, if it had given the handball penalty, there were no chance they could have overturned it. So
I think that historical, what was it last week? De Bruyne got a penalty and it was pretty soft. It was similar to that. So a lot of people were complaining, going, "Oh, it was a dive." Like, so they must have. The referees have a meeting, don't they, every week?
Yeah.
And they probably said, "Oh, like got to clamp down on this and that." So maybe they've seen that on the VAR and they thought, it's a bit soft.
But you can't once they do look at it on VAR, and there are a few today that we could probably go over, is they can't look at it and say it's not a foul. It's a foul. I don't know. If you're going to look at it, then look at it, and then you're going to have to overturn the decision because it was a foul. He's not dived. He's been upended. His fall is theatrical, but it doesn't matter. He's still been blocked. He's still been fouled. Would he have got to the ball? It's debatable. If Rico Henry wasn't there, or he just let him go past, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I had 50-50, where 50% of people will say it wasn't. 50% will say it was.
I'm more on about the Haaland dive, and the Cancelo one was even worse. He even apologised before he got booked.
The Cancelo one, yeah. I mean, he knew straight away.
That was terrible, yeah. I mean, he almost... Didn't he get hooked just a few minutes after it? It was almost as even Guardiola was apologising as well.
Yeah, get him off. He's obviously not happy with Cancelo after that red card as well, because he weren't very best pleasing about the red card, even though it was never even a free kick in my eyes.
Yeah.
Strange one. He's obviously saying it was down to Cancelo's eagerness or hot-headedness, but Yeah, the Holland one was embarrassing. Cancelo's worse. Like I say, we're getting a bit silly. Getting a bit silly. I think they just felt like nothing were going their way, especially after that handball decision. God, that were close. That were close. Could have gone either way.
Matt, you were unlucky with that Mitoma. So did you bring him in on Thursday for a price rise?
I brought him on the Thursday for the price rise, also because I've been both hearing great things about him and the little bits I've seen of him. He looks good and
Yeah.
at the centre of so much that Brighton have been doing since he's been coming to that side. So, I was expecting quite big things actually, and all I got was the price rise, which is fair enough. I did have a chance to get him out today as it did not play, but probably the player I might have brought in was McAllister, as it turned out, who scored within the first minute. But I decided just to settle for the a switch for a -0.3, +0.3 on this coming Thursday. But yeah, Mitoma, I think he looks very good, and I'm quite excited to see him in the Japan side, and then whether he beds back into Brighton after the World Cup.
Yeah, 26 points in the last 3 games, Mitoma, so he's ticking along nicely.
That's a good punt on Brighton in one of my sides. I put Sanchez, Webster, and Gross in one team. I fancied him to do a bit. Not really paid off, if I'm honest.
Webster didn't play today, did he?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering whether there is this COVID going around, and there's a lot of players that are dropping with illnesses, isn't there?
I don't know if he came off the bench, but he didn't start.
Yeah, I just think it's all on the hush-hush. They don't want to start alerting the authorities to try and shut football down again.
Yeah, well, that Callum Wilson illness only came out yesterday. It was COVID. It was just it's just an illness.
Oh, and have they said it's COVID?
Well, yeah, on the Premier Injuries it came up as COVID, I think.
Ah, I see. Yeah, starting to sneak back in, I think. That Salah blanking with Firmino and Darwin Núñez both doing a little bit, and Salah there with a big fat 0. Not what you expect.
Kept on hearing his name involved in the match. Obviously, it wasn't televised, so I was listening on the radio. But he was just involved a lot, but never really getting the chances up front with Firmino. I mean, how well has Firmino played this season? It was probably the one player we were all ignoring at the start of the season from Liverpool, thinking he doesn't score, he'll just be there to play the ball up to him, and he'll be supporting the others. But he's had a pretty good season so far.
Definitely. I mean,
he hasn't. I
was
going to say he hasn't been very good for me lately, but he got one this weekend. He did have a lovely run about a month ago.
He did.
And then as soon as I got him in, I broke him.
Yeah, he's fallen a bit lucky, obviously, with the Luis Diaz injury. Jota being out injured as well. So he's getting more game time than what probably anyone thought. And yeah, he's doing the business. Like I say, got a goal this weekend again. So moving on from Liverpool then. Straight to the first question from Walmart Statham. God, I wish James were on the pod for this one. Are you listening, James, all the way in Venezuela? With Liverpool only apparently having 7 of their squad selected for the World Cup, do you think they'll be at an advantage when the Prem resumes, or does it just mean their current squad is shite? Wooly?
Yeah, so I think Liverpool, they've actually got some of their better players going and important players going to the World Cup. So you've got Alisson in goal, probably a goalkeeper. He's not going to be too bad when he comes back anyway. But you've got obviously Trent going with England, Henderson going with England. Probably most worrying of all, you've got Virgil van Dijk for the Netherlands. Now, obviously, when he was out a couple of seasons ago for a while, Liverpool looked terrible, very leaky. Fabinho for Brazil, who, again, when he's been out recently, Liverpool have looked poor. Got Konate with France, and Núñez is the other with Uruguay. But I was looking at the brackets potentially for the World Cup, and assuming Brazil, France, and Netherlands actually win their groups, they could well be the teams that end up getting through to the semi-finals, and therefore any team that gets through to the semi-final is through either to the World Cup final itself or the third place playoff. So some really important players for Liverpool there, albeit they've only got 7 going. They're the players who, if they come back injured or if they come back tired, Liverpool might struggle a bit without. Clearly, they've got Man City probably on the Thursday, the 22nd of December in the Carabao Cup. Then away to Villa, home to Leicester. I mean, I think they might be able to get through some of those Premier League games reasonably well. But that would be my worry, is that the players are good who are going from Liverpool and may well go very late into that tournament.
Yeah, good shout, Ben.
Well, they've still got Salah, who's not going to the World Cup. Firmino's not going, and Thiago didn't get selected by Spain. Jota might be back from injury as well. So attacking wise, they might be okay, but like say, pretty much sure the defense is going the. Well, Robbo will be back. Robbo will be here, won't he? Simic will be here.
Alienating the Scottish listeners.
Yeah, so I think they could be all right. You know, some tough games though, like you said, Man City, Villa, Leicester.
In fairness, I mean, like is Trent going to play much for England?
I can't see him starting.
So he might get 20 minutes here and there. He'd probably come back fresh.
That point.
Henderson, with Bellingham,
Not a starter, is he?
Phillips, Rice. I can't see him being in there. But the big ones are probably Van Dijk and Konate. I've not looked into. I don't know how high up the pecking order in the French team he is. But like I say, Van Dijk and Konate are probably 2 of, and Nunez, who I think is a starter for Uruguay. They're the 3 big ones for me. Like I said, they've still got decent team at home. Do you think they'll be playing a second string in that City game in the cup?
It's tough in it to work out yet, because we've still got 6 weeks till that game. So we won't know until we get halfway through the World Cup who's going to be back and who's going to play.
That's it. I mean, it's depending on people getting knocked out early. Like I said, they might come home and get a couple of weeks rest before that City game. But anybody that goes far, you can't see them being involved in them games, can you?
No, not at all.
It's it's gonna be a tricky one. It's gonna be a tricky one to navigate, which is good for us managers that are more switched on. Definitely plays into our hands.
You've always got to look at the advantages of these things when you can actually, get a little bit of insight and a little bit of something that other people aren't thinking about.
Definitely gives us a little bit of a boost. So, yeah, one to keep an eye on. Right, Aman, one of many questions for Aman this week. Do we ignore teams that are out of the League Cup when we return to domestic football in over a month's time? Ben, fixture man, how's it looking there?
Well, obviously, when the game starts up, we'll get the Carabao Cup first. So the teams that are not playing the Carabao Cup won't be locked, will they? Because it'll be a new week anyway, won't it? Yeah. So
yeah.
I wouldn't ignore them completely, but obviously, if you've got a wild card, you can pick a full team of Carabao Cup players, and then you've got your 5 transfers for the next games after that. Was it Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, West Ham are out from the European teams, and we've still got Man City, Man United, Liverpool that are still in. And the other Premier League teams that are still in is Leicester, Brighton, Wolves, Southampton, Newcastle, Forest, Bournemouth. There's 6 non-Premier League teams in there. Tony's Blackburn still in there, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Got Forest at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some good fixtures. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. I'm happy with Leicester's draw, Milton Keynes.
Yeah, is that at home as well?
No, away.
Away. Have you ever been to Milton Keynes Stadium?
No.
No.
We ain't played them since 2009 when we were in League One.
Strange one, that place. It's like a bloody. It's like a music venue, I'd say, more than anything. the seats are cushioned all the way around, and they don't have many fans in whatsoever. It's a very, very strange stadium. I went there, we got beat 3-0 off them. All that way down to Milton Keynes. we got a red card in like the 8th minute. They got beat 3-0. Anyway, we won't talk about 3-0 defeats. But yeah.
Shh.
Yeah, there's a few ties in there. What do you reckon, Woody? What's your plan to attack that?
So, I think we're going to be having Liverpool and Man City probably on a Thursday. I think that's been widely touted by, I can't remember if it's City or Liverpool's own Twitter, saying that they've been moved to the Thursday for Sky. There's a second pick that Sky will have for the Wednesday, which I would reckon it'll be Manchester United and another side from East Lancashire, Burnley. I'll try and make that my only mention of Burnley tonight. So I think we'll get to see the lineups of quite a few of the sides on the Tuesday. Maybe not the ones we really want.
Yeah.
And I mean, every one of those Premier League sides was really heavily rotating their players in round 3. So Forest, almost everyone rotated. Brighton, I'll mention Mitoma again. Maybe they'll want to have him in the side to get him some more minutes and get him more into the action. Welbeck played in the last round actually as well, so there's a couple there that maybe might look at. Leicester had Vardy, who scored a couple in the last rounds.
Yeah.
Newcastle had really heavy rotation, and I think Darlow is still likely to be out after the World Cup with his ankle. So possibly if Pope starts, and we know that might be the goalkeeper to go for straight away. Who knows on Southampton with Nathan Jones, the new manager? No idea. Wolves were really rotated, and frankly, I don't want a Wolves asset. No,
Wolves block defence.
I mean, yeah, you definitely go defence rather than anywhere else. Same with Bournemouth, maybe. I mean, Marcus Tavernier looks like he's a player actually at the moment. He's been coming into, again, a cheapie who I might come back to in another question on sides who are under budget in a bit. But United, it would be useful to look at their side, but I think they're going to be moved to the Wednesday for Sky, personally. And therefore, the fact they actually did play Dalot, Bruno and Rashford in the last round, do you take a bit of a punt and think they'll do that again? Don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Like I say, it'd be nice if that City-Liverpool game at first one to kick off. They're not be that kind to us, are they?
No, they're not. And I think I'm pretty sure that's on Thursday, the 22nd December, looking at the club sources.
The only thing, like you touched on, Ben, is that you do have the 5 transfers, and I don't think there will ever be a shorter month in the history of Dream Team. It's so short. We've got probably a game week and a half, I'd say. The teams have what they got 3 or 4 games. It's been interesting the strategies that I come up with. Whether you, like you say, attack, and it's not a crazy idea. A Wolves block, you get Gillingham, and then they get got against Everton, and then switch it up back to your Liverpool and City players when you know.
You are both right about that Wolves block idea against Gillingham. Gillingham are the 90th club in the 90th in the pyramid at the moment. How the heck they've managed to get through to this round, I don't know.
It's a very good run for them.
What about Brentford? They can't beat Gillingham and they beat Man City away. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's football, isn't it? I mean, on the back of the Gillingham game, they've got Everton who are struggling.
Yeah.
We say they're struggling. They had a few really good results in a row, and now it just seems they've gone back to the old ways. And
Well, Bournemouth have beat them 7-1 over 2 games.
It's not great, is it?
I was going to say Brentford. I put a bet on Ivan Toney score a hat trick in the cup, and he nearly scored a hat trick against Man City at the weekend.
Crazy. He should have had an hat trick.
Mm.
De Bruyne cleared it offline.
Yeah.
Stops it going in. Yeah. Strange one. Football. That's why we're always watching. Patrick, DT Patrick. In my mini league, no one's racing ahead in team value. So my question is: are teams below or ahead in team value of 2 or 3, between 2 and 4 million, really at that much of an advantage or disadvantage? Do you reckon, Ben?
It's definitely an advantage because you can pick whoever you want if you've got a really big budget. But there are other routes you can take if you haven't got the budget. There's loads of cheap defenders at Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester defenders doing well. There's a couple of Man City cheap defenders as well. So there is loads of other routes you can take. I'm looking forward to it because I think people will be. There's going to be lots of different routes people have to take because of the different values that teams have got. So there won't be so many. How'd you say it? What's the word for it when everyone picks the same team?
Template.
That's the word. That's the word. I can't see there being that many templates with the different team budgets. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, definitely going to freshen things up. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's game over for anyone, to be honest. I think it's just if you're a few million short, it's going to be a bit harder. You're going to have to look a bit further down the ranks of players. You're not going to be able to do what you might be able to do, Tony, after a stellar start to the season of pick almost who you want.
Oh, it looked like that a couple of weeks ago. It's gone pretty downhill since then, Matt. But we'll touch on that in a little bit later. But yeah,
I mean, I think that there are going to be some non-Euro enablers through December, January, and into the first half of February, where there are 15 transfers to get them out when you need to head back to Europe. So, Matoma, we've already talked about 1.7 million. Tavernier for Bournemouth, he will be 2 million after a price rise this week. And if he's nailed himself in that side, he's had, I think, in the last 2 Premier League games, 3 assists and 2 goals and 2-star mans in both of those games. So, or 1-star man in each of the games, but 2-star man. So he's, a player who, if he carries on like that, when it all kicks back off, could be great. And
can he play Everton every week?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously they've played them twice in 2 games, haven't they? In the EFL Cup and the league. It'd be nice if he could. I haven't looked at fixtures into the new year. I mean, he might have Man City and Liverpool first up for all I know. So
he's got Newcastle, Chelsea first up.
That's a bit tricky then. Again, I'm not sure who Leeds have got first up either, but Crescencio Somerville's looking like a bit of a player as well. I had absolutely no idea who he was when he came into that side and scored a couple in a row. But the last 4 games, 8 points, 7 points, 10 points, 8 points. I mean, that's good for a player who's probably going to be 2.6 million by the end of the World Cup or by next week.
Matt, he's only got Man City away, so it's all right. If they play like they did against Brentford, they'll smash them.
Yeah, might be worth waiting a bit on him then. I mean, to be fair, the Sun waited long enough on him. He wasn't actually in the game until this week, so
he's fixture proof. He's scoring against everyone.
Yeah,
he might well be.
Yeah.
So I think there is. You're just going to have to look harder, take a couple of enablers, and I think December, January, February is well set up to have a couple of enablers if you need them.
Yeah, I think I spoke at the start of the season and probably a lot of the early doors about how the budget is going to be so big and towards this reset and this wild card. But then as it's going on, and as these fixtures are playing out now, we see the shape of the fixture ticker going up to early February when the European games start. If you were having to get these European based players in pretty much straight away in end of December, early January, I'd say this budget is a massive, massive advantage. I think with the way it's played out, I'd say it's just a slight advantage because I don't think you'll have to spend all your budget. I mean, you might. I mean, it gives somebody the advantage of being able to have maybe a full Liverpool team or a City team or whatever it might be, but because you're not picking fixture volume is not going to be too much of a problem for some of the lesser sides with the enablers. So you'll be able to pick a player from Brighton or Bournemouth who will have the same amount of games as a Man City or a Liverpool. So you're not going to be. So you're not suffering on the fixture volume count. Obviously, you will have to probably put in more enablers than someone who has more budget, but
Yeah.
they've got the same amount of fixtures. Usually, that wouldn't be the case. Usually, if you're talking about a European month, you're having to pick enablers. You're picking a Brighton player who only has 3 fixtures against a City player that has 6. That's where it's a problem. So I don't. If you can pick the right enablers for the end of December and early January, you shouldn't suffer too much. Obviously, picking them right is the job, and getting the right ones at the right time. But I don't think the money is going to harm you too much early doors. That's my view on it. Aman's back. Can a team with less points and poor in team value overcome a team with more points? Brackets 100 in front and rich in team value, 4 million more. Or is it like taking a knife to a gunfight? You reckon, Matt?
I mean, it kind of carries on from that previous question, really. I think you've got more work to do in December, January, and February to try and get back to that point where Europe starts again. You're probably going to focus a bit more on getting that budget up. Hopefully, you hit the right enablers, which, again, obviously, the secret of building budget is actually getting players who score points. So, if you get it right with the right enablers who score points, go up in value, you get points and value, and hopefully, you'll be back a bit closer. But I think just playing the game to get as many points as you can. I mean, it's a really boring answer, but you just carry on doing what you're doing, and you've got a chance. I don't think 2, 3, or 4 million's that much of a problem at the moment. But if that grows to 5, 6, or 7 million by the time February in the Champions League, that gap to the teams above, and you've got further than 100 points behind, then that's the problem. So I think exactly as you just said, Tony, it's hitting the right players, getting a bit of luck over the next few months, and you'll still be in it.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, totally agree. Especially while there's no European games, the player pool is a lot bigger, so you can pick a lot more cheaper players, so you can catch up. Like they're a bit more differential to the usual players that everyone will be picking. So if they have a good few weeks, you can catch up easily. So 100 points isn't a lot, really.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you say, the player pool, as soon as that shrinks, it starts to become harder to chase.
Yeah.
Because everyone's picking from a lot smaller pool, usually the European teams. And if your budget's a little bit shorter, then you won't be able to fit in as many of the top European players as they are. So you are starting to lose. But at this moment in time, it definitely these next 2 months are an advantage to anybody chasing. Definitely an advantage to the chasers because the player pool is a lot bigger. A lot more angles to attack from. Just touching on from Aman's question, I'll cover Lee's. Lee Hooper is now the time to start analysing other teams in the mini league. If over 100 points behind, there still time for some patience. And basically what he's meaning is saying, should he analyse other teams and try going for a different approach to them, or just stick to some patience? Ben?
Well, it's perfect time, really, especially with the wild card. But we don't know who they will go for with the wild cards. You know what I mean? So unless the players are in your mini league, they don't know about the wild card, which I doubt they will. If they're engaged managers like us, so you can't really look at other teams, can you? Because they'll be changing their team. So yeah.
Matt?
Yeah, so agreed with what Ben says. Really, I think it's going to be difficult to see what everyone else is doing. For me, I'm not really a mini league player. Just aiming to get as many points as I can. Full stop. So I'm not really looking at others. Did at the back end of last season a bit for the first time. Didn't work too well. But I think if you are looking at others, so with a bit of bias here, because I don't like doing that and don't like trying to base my teams off what other teams around me are doing, I think it's too early. I think at this moment in time, we're a third of the way through the season. I think Liverpool and Man City have played, I think, 14 games in the Premier League. And I think they've played 21 games in total. And I think with a reasonable expectation that they go deep into cup competitions, there's up to about 42 more games they can play. So we are literally a third of the way through the season for them. So I think it's early at the moment to start looking at others. Get as many points as you can. Loads of transfers quickly in December and January and February. So even if you do see what your other opposition have got at the end of the wildcard period, that could change really quickly. I wouldn't want. It's not. I don't really want to follow and pick poor blockers. I'd want to look at the best opportunities to get points. To be fair, at this stage.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree with you both. Right. And leading on from Lee is Aman back again. He's got a couple here. Plenty of games to go post World Cup. But what sort of points total do you think is good, okay, and poor? Ben?
I'd say around 900 and above. I'd say it's very good. Around 800, 850 is okay. And poor, I'd say anything below 700. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. Probably agree with that. Would you reckon, Matt?
Yeah, I came up with a slightly different list of categorizations. 1,056 outstanding. You'd be top of the game at the moment. Over 950, I think really, really outstanding. Really good too. Anything's still possible at that point, and that's circa the top 1,000. I'm jealous if you got more than 900 because I'm not quite there. My top team's got 842, which I'm okay with. Not outstanding, but
You're
I'm not.
around the same area as me, mate.
Yeah, I mean, but if a few good calls that have probably gone not paid off. Some things have paid off, so I'm not too disappointed with that. I'd say you're kind of looking at the average mark, maybe around very high 700s or 800, and again, I agree with Ben. Actually, if you're below 700, that's where you're going to struggle.
Yeah, write them teams off.
Yeah,
unless you're playing in mini leagues for monthly prizes or weekly prizes.
Yeah, I still think it's too early to give up. Keep going.
Yeah, go a bit. I mean, maybe not write them off, but maybe go a bit different when the season restarts. And if you, I mean, this week most of us have had 20 to 30 points, or some less. But I've seen a few scores on there that are 50, 60, 70s from players that I wouldn't have in my side particularly.
Yeah.
But if you go a bit different, and you get that bit of luck, you've made up a bit of that difference already. So
it can definitely pay off, can't it?
Mm.
Right. He's also asked, what sort of team value do you think is good and poor at this stage? Do you reckon, Ben?
I'd say good is like edging towards 60 million, and I'd say poor is anything around 50 million, really. I've got a couple of teams that are about 56. Is probably my best. I bet you've got around 60 million, haven't you, Tony, with your best team.
Yeah, but it won't be after this week.
Oh,
it's going to drop. I'm going to be probably looking at 59, 59 and a bit.
still good,
Which
that, though.
I'm happy enough with that.
Yeah.
Especially after the last 2 or 3 weeks. I had an absolute nightmare. Can't catch a break from anywhere with the side. That's my best side, that. And then a few teams below that, 2 or 3 teams below that, got 57, 56.8, 55.9. Most of them mid-50s, which I can cope with that. I can deal with that. I can manage with that, especially going into being able to pick some differentials and having a nice big player pot to pick from. I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. So I'd probably say if you are 60 million plus, you've got a very, very healthy budget. And I think what it might do, just thinking even more into it, is it might help if you do take some punts after the World Cup and they don't quite pay off. When you can afford to, if you're on 62 million budget, you can afford to take a few more hits on that. You can afford to take a few more hits on the on your budget going into the next month for the European Games. So there's advantages, but yeah, anything that's low 50s, 50 to 52, you're obviously going to be a distinct advantage because you're about 8 million short of some of the top sides that have got more money than you. So you have to pull a few rabbits out of the hat. It's not impossible, but you are you're running uphill there. What do you reckon, Matt?
Yeah, I like that. I'm running up that hill, and it's not impossible. I think that there are points to be had from some of the cheaper players over the next few months, as we've discussed a few times tonight. That said, though, I think probably if you've got below 52 or 53, that's below average, and it's going to be harder. Mid 50s, pretty good, manageable, as you say. I think over 60 million is great.
Yeah.
And I think that only 17 of the top 100 currently have over 60 million prior to the price changes this week. So I think that if you've got over 60 million, you've done really well so far. But I've just looking at my team values. I've got one that's just 58.3 at the moment. It's got a couple of transfers left, so I might be able to boost that up a bit. I've got a couple of 57s. I've got a poorer side, interestingly, somehow that's managed to get 59. I'm not quite sure where that's come from, to be fair. And then I've got a few that are mid 50s. I think that I'm really happy with the ones that have got 57 and 58, to be fair.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Right, final one of the evening. Aman again. In the battle for the Dream Team Tonic teams, who is the current favourite to win? Tony, Ben or James, or will the Tonic Relay team rule? What do you reckon, Ben?
Well, I think you're favourite at the moment, mate. You're flying. Are we on about your best team or are we on about your podcast team?
Well, either or. I don't know.
They're both better than mine anyway. Yeah. You're having a good season, mate.
It's been a decent start. It was a great start. Sat in fourth a couple of weeks ago. Shows how when we touch on probably the earlier questions and how quickly things can turn around. I think I finished now for the World Cup going 610th. I think I am, and it just shows how 2 game weeks.
Yeah,
and my team was flying. I've not really done much. I probably went more towards City for 3 home games. It didn't quite pay off, obviously. It just shows you how harmful that can be because I've dropped 606 places.
Yeah, just shows you like you pick the right players for the right games. It's just sometimes the luck doesn't go your way.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't expect Man City to concede against Brentford and lose,
No.
and the other week they conceded against Fulham, didn't they?
Yeah. Cancelo, red card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cancelo could have come out of there with 2-star mans in the
Yeah.
last 2 games. He could have come out there with, clean sheets. He could have come out with 30 points, whereas he's had 2 minus scores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Obviously, they're quite an expensive asset as well, Cancelo. So some people didn't have him, especially a lot of these Newcastle blocks and Arsenal blocks. All right. But yeah, it just shows how quickly you can change, especially on block defences. You see, like, basically the whole table with flipping on just a clean sheet, an Arsenal clean sheet against Chelsea. A lot of the probably people who had the Arsenal players in with their transfers wouldn't have took it out an Arsenal block, so they've just gone to ride the Chelsea game and anything with a bonus kind of thing. They've ended up getting a nice clean sheet and gone from there. So yeah, that's just the way it goes. I also understand that in 2 weeks after it all kicks back off again, I could be back up to 4th. Who knows?
Yeah.
It just shows how quickly it can change. Yeah, you just got to take it game week at a time, haven't you? Just play the fixtures, and you should end up somewhere abouts.
Completely. It does look really competitive at that top end at the moment, and certainly with the reset and restart with fresh squads and just unlimited transfers, it's going to be really interesting to see how that top end goes. Over the next few weeks and months.
If you were sat up in that top 50 now, you would not be wanting this reset.
No, not at all.
It's the last thing you want. Everyone's starting again. And all right, you might have an advantage of a budget, but yeah, I think you'd much rather it just plod on with everyone. You'd be sat there with your Kieran Trippiers and your Nick Popes and Saliba, Gabriel. You'd be thinking everyone's going to switch into these. All the chasing pack are going to be switching to these players, and
exactly. I mean, I would. This time last year, I was near the top and just about to hit first, I think, in the game, and yeah, I hung around there for a while. And you get into that if you've got the right players and it's a fairly static sort of game, and you're just tweaking.
Yeah,
it's probably a lot easier to hang around those positions than it is when you've just got a complete reset, a complete switcheroo.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think I don't know. I don't know how dramatic things are going to shift, but I can see some big swings pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
I was thinking as well, with this being such a short month, a lot of people would have been doing block defenses of random teams like Newcastle, Arsenal, just to try and do something a bit different to jump up the table. And you've gone for Man City just to like consolidate your position in the top 100, and it's Man City's conceded to 2 games out of the 3. So and if you had a Leicester block, you've been laughing because they've had 7 clean sheets out of 9 now.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. It is one of them.
If anyone's gone for a Leicester block, put it in the comments below because I want to see your team. I wish I did it.
Definitely. It'd been a great shout. Probably sat in first now, wouldn't I?
Yeah. You would have got 40 points on the weekend.
Crazy. I don't think my top teams managed over 30 points in the last few weeks. It's been dreadful. But yeah, the Tonic side, Ben, the Tonic relay team.
Yeah.
We got a message last week on YouTube asking, how's it going on? And I'm so glad I passed the baton to you, and because I got past a sinking ship. I was trying to bail it out with a bucket. I think there must have been a hole in my bucket that I was trying to bail it out with. but but you've come along, Ben, and you seem to have. I don't know. You had some device. You've sorted something out. So how's it going, mate?
Yeah, 53 points this week. I think you got a bit distracted by your top 10 team, didn't you? You completely forgot to do transfers last month.
Don't tell him
Um,
that.
so yeah, 53 points this week. I got in a couple of Newcastle defenders, Trippier and Shah. Almiron came in. Who else came in? I think I brought a couple of Man U defenders in. Luke Shaw and De Gea. They got a couple of 3 points this week, so it's a good score. Odegaard's in there. He got 18 points as well. And Rashford and Jesus were the differentials up front, but didn't really do nothing this week. Just want to check where they are overall. So they got 748 points. So that is around, I would imagine it's around 100k, something like that now. Need to
Yeah.
double check that, the login. But yeah, I wanted to get it up to 200k before I pass the baton on to James for next month. So if it is around that 100k, I'll be well happy with that.
Yeah, it's doing all
I mean,
right.
it's got a way to go to try and catch the likes of Tony. To be fair,
Oh yeah,
and it's also that relay team has got a budget at the moment. I think of 53 million going
yeah,
into the international break. Probably with some of those Newcastle players maybe rising this week, but it's going to
Yeah,
be it's not going to be huge. So it's one of those sides that's going to have to navigate some of the enablers. I think itself
yeah.
going into
Leicester block. I wish I
Last
was taking over next month.
Wolves block. Wolves block. That's what it's going for. We'll have to see when James gets back from Venezuela. We'll see what his plans are for that. But yeah, that's how the relay team's going. Right, Ryan Driver. Any thoughts on the World Cup game and strategy with transfers, or is that for another pod? I know we did say we're going to touch on the World Cup game in this pod. Obviously, that's the end now, isn't it? At the end, well, that's the start of the break, I suppose, for the normal game. The World Cup game starts next week, so there's no harm in putting a bit of content out on this podcast. Wooly, you've done quite a bit of looking into this. How are you going to attack this game?
So I think that the first thing I did for the Dream Team World Cup game was read the rules. Can't emphasise enough, read the rules. So we've got 30 transfers, a maximum of 3 per calendar day, and we can make as many transfers as we want up till the 20th of November, which is when it kicks off. So that's interesting. I guess there is a nuance if you want it to be really cheeky and do not submit a team for the Qatar Ecuador game. You could maybe wait and see team sheets on the following day if you hadn't submitted your team to start with. But I probably won't be doing that because I'm not quite sure where that will get me. But I think there are some very good match day 1 and 2 fixtures. So the first group game and second group game fixtures, and they pair quite nicely. So I've gone through and analysed some of the fixtures, and I'm quite happy to share this on the Discord for Dream Team Tonic as well with some of the fixturies for the first few matches. And I think there are some teams who have some great fixtures in round 1 and 2. So Netherlands, England, Argentina, Belgium and Croatia even, and Brazil. So I'm going to probably be going heavy on those and try and minimise my transfers for the first couple of matches. But 30 transfers is a lot of transfers. So you can probably look at doing 6 between the semi-final, potentially between the third place playoff into the final. You can use another 6 going, say, from the quarterfinal to the semi-final. So you can back end them to make sure you have playing players.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I'm at the moment. And there's no overhaul or wild card in Sun in the Dream Team game. So you'd probably be wanting to make quite a lot between the group stage and the second round as teams go out to make sure you've got 11 players playing.
Yeah.
You can obviously take a few transfers between the second and third group games, I think, when there are some swings in fixtures. So for that third group set of games, Germany have got Costa Rica, Germany before that point they've just had Spain, so you might not want them in for that. But if assuming they're going to get through the group phase, bringing a Germany player in for Costa Rica seems great to me. Similarly, Portugal have South Korea in that final game. So I think my plan, long story short, is to try and save the transfers in the first couple of rounds, and then use a lot of transfers because we've got a lot of transfers in every round beyond that.
Yeah, and sure you've got them players playing.
Yeah,
every round forwards after that. You don't want to be caught short with playing with 6 or 7.
No, and remember, there's an interesting thing around the third place playoff and the final. Obviously, unlike the Euros, any team that makes the semi-final will play a game after that because there's a third place playoff. Whether they'll play the strongest team and the team that you have players from, or the players that you have will play in that match is another question. But you will be able to make transfers between the third place playoff and the final, potentially 6, because you can make 3 each calendar day. So you could make 3 after the final whistle in the third place playoff. And they will go through as pending transfers, but will count against your transfer use on the day of the third place playoff. And then you could make another 3 on the day of the final before kickoff. So there's all kinds of ways of maximising this, I think.
Definitely. Ben, have you had a look into it, mate?
Not really. I've just threw my teams in. I tried to have a little play around making a team yesterday, but there's still the values aren't been corrected yet because they're still pending.
Yeah,
they've still got like average prices, so you can spend more than 50 million at the moment. So it's a bit annoying. Just looking at the fixtures, Matty. So we've got Brazil playing on the last day of the first round of fixtures. So would you have Brazil players in your team to start off with, or would you bring them in for the last day of the first round?
I think that's a good question. And Group G is one of the easier groups, I think, for the big teams. I think they've got the fixture ticker that I've put together is based largely on the bookies odds, and they've got some games which looks like they'll win reasonably easily against Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. And you're going to want players from Brazil. I think you've hit a bit of a nail on the head for Brazil. I'm not trying to make that many transfers during the first set of group games, to be fair, but Brazil might be the exception.
Okay. Bring them in after the first 4 days, and then you can bring in Brazil players.
Yeah, I mean, for example, Argentina have got Saudi Arabia in their first game on the 22nd, on the Tuesday. Yeah. So you might go Argentina heavy for the first game and switch 1 or 2 of those out to Brazil on the Thursday.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on Ecuador and Qatar players then?
So I think avoid. I can't see any reason to bring in an Ecuador or Qatar player. It's good that Dream Team doesn't have a system where you have a daily captain, which one of the other games does, which probably would mean you would need one, but no reason to bring in Ecuador or Qatar players.
Can I just jump
both
in?
Of whom, yes.
If you go Ecuador bashing, I'm just getting my article up for the hub. Where is it? Has anybody considered? This is a reading. This is obviously an exclusive for everybody who's listening. Has anybody considered Ecuador? No. Now hear me out. They're in a group with Qatar, Netherlands, and Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
The last 6 internationals they've played, they've not conceded a goal.
Oh.
Earlier this year, they drew with both Argentina and Brazil 1-1, and they're an obvious tough nut to crack. And I expect that to prove the case in their World Cup campaign. Brighton lad, Estupinan, Hincapié and Arboleda could prove big value for money if the Ecuadorians can take their solidity into the World Cup. They open up against Qatar, so we get to see the lineup, we get to see the back line and the goalkeeper. I'm going block Ecuador that first game. In one of my teams. Only in one. But yeah, I mean, going forwards, I don't think that Ecuador lads will be staying for that. They got Netherlands to get. No, yeah, sorry, they got Netherlands the second game. I don't think there'll be any there for that game. But yeah, they're obviously Qatar hosts. They'll probably score it for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, where in the version of the game where you've got to have a captain on the first day, I've got a stupid in, and I think that Ecuador could do quite well. And that is it's not what I'm trying to do. As I say, I'm trying to save transfers for later in the competition. But
yeah,
I mean, I think it's a valid approach, which is to go big on that first game. 30 transfers. There's so many different ways of playing this game this year.
Oh, definitely, Matt. And like you say, I think, are you going to play 5 teams at a similar strategy, or are you going to maybe do a couple of early blocks that are going to use some transfers early? You're going to hold back for 3 teams because you've got 5 teams. There's so many ways to play it. You could play 5 different strategies, although that would mess with your head and it probably takes a lot of work.
It would, and it's what I've tried not to do this year with the main game, the season game on Dream Team, and put Liverpool players into every side, which went fantastically well. Not messing on strategies. So you're probably right. Mix the strategies up a bit, and actually, I think you've hit on something. Qatar could be awful, but the host nation, who knows? I don't know how passionate or loudly the fans will be in that stadium for the first game. Not quite sure whether it's going to be a huge atmosphere or not. So you just don't know. But it could be. Ecuador could do really well there. And 30 transfers. I think it was pointed out earlier in the Discord for Dream Team Tonic that there were 20 transfers for the Euros with not that many fewer games, to be fair.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of ways to play these transfers, and I don't think at this stage I don't think there's a wrong answer, but my instinct is to save them.
Yeah. It is a lot of transfers for a short tournament, but they can dwindle away very quickly from game to game. Yeah, Ben, when we played the Euros, the last tournament, we did quite well.
Yeah. You did, mate. You won the Dream Team Tonic Cash League.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I did actually. I'm surprised I've not mentioned that. Where's that trophy gone? I don't know where it is. It's up there somewhere. His missus moved it again. Anyway, one of the strategies we did, which on the joint team we put in, was rotating the big hitting forwards, and I think that paid dividends. I think rather than, like Matt said, rather than, obviously he's going to hold transfers back towards the back end of the group stages. I think what we did was try to pinpoint the games. So say Netherlands, Senegal. So Depay, if he's fit, we'd have Depay, and then the next day, Argentina versus Saudi Arabia, we'd switch him to Messi. Then on the next day, Spain, Costa Rica, we'd switch. How am I going to say this? To Morata. And, you know, and then Brazil versus Serbia, we'd switch to Neymar. and just make sure that we had that big hitting,
Starman.
the star man, the guy who could go and get a hat trick against these lesser countries. And I think all the way through the group stages, we had all of them forwards, and it didn't cost you. I can't remember how many transfers it did actually cost us through the group stage, but I know there were only 20 transfers, and we did all right through the group stages as well. So if anyone's thinking about a way of playing, that's one way which can prove pretty fruitful, and it will still save you plenty of transfers for the group stage, for the knockout rounds and beyond as well. That might help.
And I'd contradict my own views there and come in with a positive for using the transfers early, that in that group stage, there are going to be some big scores. There are going to be some big wins for Argentina or France or Netherlands or England or Brazil.
Yeah.
When you come on to the latter stages, and let's say the World Cup final is France against Brazil, I might have saved all my transfers to bring in players who are going to end up playing 1-1 with 2 scrappy goals from midfielders who I haven't got.
Yeah.
And just
it's true,
waste. So it'll all, obviously it's always luck to hit on the right strategy, but so many different ways of playing it.
Definitely. Like you said, with having the smaller countries in the group stages, there could be a lot more points batted around, and some of the bigger hitters getting some nice big hauls there. So you won't really be missing out on one to save a transfer for them playing against harder opposition. But if you go early, and I think there were a couple of teams that I had in the Euros, and I think it had gone quite heavy Dutch, and I think the Dutch got knocked out. And and then when you're trying to replace 4 or 5 players, then it starts to really hit home that you're going to struggle to get to that final or to the semi-finals with what you've got. So it's nice. It's refreshing to have a look at a different game since we don't usually have a mid-season break, do we? It's usually end of the season. But yeah, fresh eyes on a fresh game. Enjoying looking into it. Like I say, I've just done about an 1,800 word article, which hopefully has got a little bit of insight. It's tricky trying to pick some enablers out when the prices aren't up there and stuff. But I'm waiting for the prices to come out before I'm getting that posted into the Patreon for all the Patreon members, and obviously that'll be going on to the Fantasy Football Hub as well.
I mean, the later they bring those prices out, the fewer engaged, the fewer players are going to have picked any decent size, to be fair.
Yeah.
And the more chance we've all got of winning as engaged managers.
It's true. They end up disqualifying everyone because they've got a team of 53 million. Yeah. But like I said, 25 grand prize pot. First prize, is 25 grand, isn't it? Which is massive. But how much did they put up for the Euros?
Can't remember.
I don't think they had the prize up, did they?
Yeah, they would have. It would have been about the same.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember it being that big, but yeah, all good. Well, you've done a nice write-up going back to the standard dream team. You've done a nice write-up for the Patreon. You'll have a run through that, mate.
Yeah, so I was looking at, now we've got to a third of the way through the season with those 21 games gone, 42 games to go potentially. As I said, I thought it'd be a good time to look back at, if you had a time machine, what should you have picked when the season started? Where would you be? And particularly if you were lazy enough not to make any transfers, where could you have got? And I think the interesting thing about this is it probably also is of a little bit of use for picking players going into the next part of the season, because I think most people will probably be able to afford this as well. But yeah, so I've looked back over the last few months and have picked the best side that I think we could have picked at the beginning, and I'll just launch straight into it, to be fair.
Yeah, go on, mate.
So in goal, Nick Pope. 70 points. He's actually the joint top scoring keeper with Alisson, who was 2.5 million. Pope was 2.5 million when the game started. So a really cheap keeper. Saved 2 million on Alisson, who scored exactly the same number of points, or 2 million saved on Edison as well.
Yeah.
And he's got those points despite no European football. So really good. Newcastle defence. Newcastle defender Kieran Trippier, obviously, in there. 111 points. Let's hope he can carry on his form into the World Cup. Maybe a few assists for Harry Kane, his old friend back from the Spurs days. Would be nice.
Be nice.
João Cancelo. He might have had his red. Just about managed to make the side despite a couple of dodgy games in the last couple. And then we move on to Diego Dallo. 78 points. He's actually United's second top point scorer to Rashford. But United's clean sheets over the last few weeks have gone in his favour. So Diego Dallo makes the cut. And then Gabriel from Arsenal on 84 points. He's in with a really tight Arsenal defence. So in terms of how this has been picked, it's been picked by looking at the points per million, essentially, from the starting prices. So we've ended up with a split defence, not a block, but that's entirely based on what players started on for their prices, and therefore no surprise really that out of those 5 defenders we've got 2 Newcastle, one Arsenal, but still Cancelo makes it.
Yeah.
Absolutely no surprise in midfield to have Kevin De Bruyne there. 108 points, 4th top scorer so far in Dream Team overall. Done absolutely brilliantly when when Haaland's not been in the side.
Yeah.
With Starman coming his way. But even when Haaland's been in the side, he's ticked over, which was a big question I think we all had before the start of this season. What would the impact of Haaland be on KDB?
Yeah, I think we've had quite a few questions during the season as well on KDB about whether it's worth having him in at that price, and we have always just adamant, just leave KDB in. Leave KDB in. He does what he does, doesn't he? He's ticked over nicely. And I didn't know he was 4th top scorer.
No, I mean, he's Mr. Reliable, really.
Yeah.
I think. And off to the World Cup now. Maybe we should be getting him with some good Belgian fixtures as well.
Why not?
Exactly. Hopefully someone who's going to do really well at the World Cup as well. An Englishman, Phil Foden.
Yeah.
86 points. He's had a goal and a rating despite the defeat to Brentford last week. And he was... he's only going to be 5.3 million when the game resumes, to be fair. So he's still not that expensive, assuming Pep's got him in his good books right now.
That's it.
Then I think the name that will be absolutely no surprise whatsoever and really enables the whole team, Almiron. What a season he's had. He's the highest points per starting million player by a long way. And he has scored 47 points for every £1 million you've invested in him. He was only 1.5 million. And he's got 71 points.
Unbelievable.
But to get 71 points where you're spending next to nothing would have really enabled the whole side. So what a player. And he's still not that expensive, and he's still been banging the goals recently. So presumably, when the season comes back, he's going to be pretty highly owned.
I think Lee Hooper's got him in his zombie team in the league that we created. He's top of the league with Almiron in his team. So he'll be buzzing with that.
Come on.
So then up front, so I suppose it's gone, I didn't really mention the formation, which of course turned out to be bigger at the back than perhaps in retrospect might have been good.
Yeah.
4-3-3. I think everyone thought big at the back was dead across all formats of fantasy football. But actually that turns out to be where the value's been. Up front, first two, not much surprises. Haaland, 190 points. Those like me that didn't have him in on day one, we brought him in as quick as we could, but he has scored twice as many points as all but the other four in the top 5 point scorers. So he scored twice as many points as the 6th highest point scorer.
It's
incredible.
Crazy stat.
Mohamed Salah, Mr. Reliable, alongside KDB, who I've just called Mr. Reliable. He's the 2nd top point scorer. So he might have had a pretty average season by his standings. And he's not that high on points per million. But as soon as you start putting Alma on in and saving the budget, you've got freedom to put him in, to be honest. If you had that time machine to go back in August and put him in. And finally, Gareth Southgate, Ivan Toney. He gets it with 92 points.
Yeah.
He's got into this optimal 11 as our 3rd striker.
Unbelievable.
He's only 11 points behind Kane, to be fair. Sorry, he's only 16 points behind Kane, actually, after this weekend. But 3.5 million cheaper when the season started. So he was an absolute bargain.
Yeah.
And you're probably asking, what would that team have cost to start with? 49.5 million, so well within budget. And without even using a transfer, where do you guys think this might be?
Got to be near the top, isn't it?
It is not just near the top, Ben. We'd have 1,100 points and we'd be 44 points clear as leader, having sat on our hands doing nothing since August.
Unbelievable.
Just proves you don't need transfers.
Well, it does. More fool us who use them badly, maybe. But to be fair, a lot of those picks seem really obvious in hindsight, but I don't think they were in August.
And there's 4 players in that team that don't play in Europe.
I know.
It'd be interesting when we come back to this. If we talk about a time machine, it'd be interesting at the end of the season we come back to this after the European games have played out, whether they slowly get kicked out of that team, the non-European players, but they've had such a good start. Ivan Toney, Trippier, Pope. I mean, Almiron, it's massive starts to the season. Do we think Newcastle are going to carry on that form? I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I don't see why not either. I think if they keep the key players fit, and who knows what they're going to do in the January transfer window. They can do whatever they want, essentially, can't they? So yeah. I think they're going to be there or thereabouts. Challenging the likes of Spurs, who look like they've been shocking, but still are in 3rd.
Yeah. There to be taken. Wouldn't surprise me if Newcastle again down them Champions League places next season. So they could do what they want in the transfer window. Plenty of money. They just don't upset it though. I wouldn't bring too many in if I were them. Don't upset it. Right. Really good that way. Thanks for that, mate.
No problem.
We'll get on to the Patreon for all the Discord members to have a good read of that. And
I think that's going to come in with the title of Woolly's Waffle, I believe, on the Patreon as well. Which the 2 options, which to be fair were suggested by yourselves and James, came up with a couple of options for the title potentially of that. Woolly's Waffle was one, and Woolly's Words of Wisdom was the other. And I have to say that it was my wife that said, Woolly's Words of Wisdom? That's definitely not that. Woolly's Waffle, much more appropriate.
That's a wise woman. No, brilliant. Great to have your insight, mate. Appreciate that. Like I say, we'll get that up for the Patreon members. Sure, they'll appreciate Woolly's Waffle for the rest of the season. Right, we'll have a readout of the Dream Team Tonic Cash League top 10. Ben, do you want to have a go at that, mate?
Yeah, let's have a look at it. So we got in 10th place, Stephen Bestwick. 9th place, Leo Reed. 8th place, Lee Hooper. 7th, Jake Bevan. 6th, Lee Watson. 5th, Stephen Williams. 4th, Leo Reed again. 3rd, Simon Davis. 2nd, Tom Brinley. And top of the shot, Tony Sutcliffe. Oh, it's getting close now,
Oh,
mate.
God. I had about a
2 points.
50-point lead a couple of weeks ago. Just
Yeah.
shows there 13
Just
points
proves,
this week.
just shows that you can turn it around. Still loads of time.
Yeah. In 1 week, well, so say 2 weeks, 50-point lead's gone. Yeah. It shows what the questions about the 100-point lead and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Give it a month, 2 months. It's so easy to overturn. I say it's so easy. I mean, it happens. And my side up there isn't a bad side. I don't think I've got what I would call wrong players. Just a bad month, a bad
Just out of the rub of the
2 or 3
green.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just gone against me. So, yeah, clinging on, cliffhanger, playing up there.
And looking at the top three, all three of you have not scored and more than 28 points. So it
Yeah,
just shows you how tough it's been this week.
yeah. The last couple of weeks have been pretty tough. Like I said, it causes everyone to just bunch up. Everyone's just bunching up again there. You think you've got someone who's quite clear, and you may be like thinking, "Oh God, they've run away with that," but it doesn't take long.
And you've got those players who, like we said earlier, have actually scored more than 50 points this week. It might not feel like an exceptional week, but actually that, when you compare it to the 13s, 28s and 28s at the top, 56 is catching up. And I think that was Lee Hooper's team.
Yeah.
So
very, very good week.
Yeah, very good week.
Yeah. Shows why you keep going, because 2 or 3 of them weeks in a row, next thing you know, you're sat on top and looking down on everybody else. So, right, I'm going to read the Tonic Patreon League out. If I get this wrong, because I'm having to remove someone from it. So I need to read it out, Robert. So in 10th, we've got Connor Tobin. In 9th, Barry McCormack. In 8th, Mark Warner. In 7th, Stephen Broughton. In 6th, Peter Franklin. In 5th, Mark McKee. In 4th, Nicholas Steetham. In 3rd, Tom Brindley. In 2nd, Jake Bevan. And top of the shop, Lee Hooton on 975 points. Massive score, mate.
That's bigger than the Cash League score.
It is, but one of them. Why is he not in the Cash League? Where is he on that? On that points 975. Is he in the top 100 there? He's
975.
Great score.
That's top 500. That.
Yeah. Yeah, about 300th.
Yeah.
No, 246 he is. So fair play, Lee. Great score,
great
mate.
work, Lee.
Great score.
Brilliant.
I mean, you've got a nice 60-point cushion. But as I know, that doesn't mean much at this moment in time. But yeah, that's all for this evening, folks. Going forwards, going into the World Cup, I think we'll be doing a little bit. I think we'll be doing a couple of pods and some other stuff. No promises, but we'll try and get as much content out there as we can. Like I say, anybody who's in the Patreon, keep an eye out for my article, which we're going, and who or what I'm going to be choosing in the World Cup. As ever, thanks, Ben. Thanks for coming along. We'll be rejoined by James at some point. I'm not even too sure when he's back. But yeah, if you're not involved in the Patreon yet and you'd like some more content, especially in the run up to the World Cup, get yourselves across to patreon.com/Dream Team Tonic. Great Discord group, great set of lads, all helping each other out, and you get quite a lot of other stuff with our articles and watch lists and other things. So it's well worth the small fee each month. Wooly, Matt Woolley, it's been great to have you on.
Thanks again.
I've not asked you questions twice this week.
Well.
I don't think I've slurred. I don't think I've fallen asleep at my desk.
No, that hasn't happened, Tick.
I've behaved myself fully.
Yeah, I can't say whether that's the same as last time, but done really well tonight.
Cheers,
mate.
mate.
My absolute pleasure to be on as well.
Appreciate you coming on again, mate.
Thanks for coming on, mate.
No problems.
And it might not be as long before we get you back on again, mate. Right, have a good evening. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
Goodbye.